but we wanted to tell everybody that we have a new YouTube channel, and we need you to subscribe to the new channel because we're not uploading or streaming on the old channel anymore. It's still the Voice of Stockton.
It's gonna be fresh, brand new
content,
great content.
Yeah,
only exclusively on KXVS.
Yes, if you and on this video will be a link in the description where you can click it. But if you want to type it in, we made it real easy for you. You know, bit.ly, the short link, bit.ly. So you can type bit.ly/subscribe_KXVS_YouTube. So bit.ly/subscribe_KXVS_YouTube. That's easy enough, right, Donovan? Donovan is the silent minority.
Speechless.
I'm trying to get my accent right. Hold on. I'm just throwing over it in my head. Let me start. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. How to do it? All right, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go subscribe to this new channel. It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yo, what's different about this channel than the last one?
Well,
what's changed?
Well, we're making some changes. We're always doing something new, but this is something that we had to do this, and we've had to do this for a while. So this new channel, it's really not much different, except the channel will be different. So all our new content is going on the channel, and we're going to migrate all our videos to that channel as well, and we won't be using the old channel. So if you're waiting on that channel, you'll be missing it. So please do subscribe to our new channel, and it's real easy. You know, follow us on Facebook, thevoiceofstockton.org. You can find us everywhere. Keep watching us on our live streams, but that's it. We just wanted to break in and tell you that.
And let's make Stockton better together.
That's right. Make Stockton better together. All right. So, you know what? Let's start this track over because this is the best bomb song. And thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, with Donovan and Mr. Details, Dustin Breakwheel. This is Governor Don signing off.
This is Miriam, and you're listening to KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.
You know what I got? I got a picture of his face with the little pillow on it, the sleep face, and we're in Chicago.
Are they already in Chicago?
The one and only Leo Biaz. Hey, Leo.
I'm excited to be back, my man. It was 9 days in Vegas. We got stuck in the desert, and we had a little hangover remix out there, man.
I wore a wig to school once, and they said no headgear was allowed.
How did
spider web
was it
tights.
Obvious that it was a wig?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was having fun.
Wig.
See, this is exactly why we have them on the show, and this is what makes them fun.
You're listening to KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM.
This is Darius Oliver, and you're listening to 92.1 KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.
This broadcast will start in 60 seconds. This broadcast will start in 45 seconds. This broadcast will start in 30 seconds. This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Okay. Thanks, Dustin. We're live on Facebook, KXVS. I am Ben Sanchez. This is Challenge Mode, in case you have tuned in or haven't tuned in. First-time viewer, hopefully long-time tuning in to us. We have a couple of great guests on the show tonight for you. But just in case, give you a little refresher. Challenge Mode is an entrepreneur show. It's geared towards entrepreneurs in the Central Valley. We follow the lives, hearts, passions, and minds of all these people that are constantly creating, building, and designing things in our city, in our community that we're getting behind. It fosters a lot of great economic growth, for the small business. And so with that, before I introduce a couple of my guests, I just want to let you guys know that there's a couple of events coming up. But the main one, if you want to meet a lot of great entrepreneurs or see, kind of what Stockton has to offer, Stock Market actually is happening on Saturday. That's June 9th, 10 to 4. Artisans, makers, food trucks, all these people that are creating, all kinds of handcrafted items. You'll be able to go out there. It's a free event. Hopefully the weather's good for that, and go ahead and enjoy yourselves. There's all kinds of different things. There's going to be live music. Even if you don't purchase anything, just go hang out and visit with the community. It's just one of those great things to get involved with and experience. Obviously those happen every other month, so this is the month to do it, June 9th. The next one won't be until August, so you have plenty of time. That's this Saturday, 10 to 4, Stock Market. And so I'm going to introduce a couple of my guests today on the show. We got David Ng and his wife, Sabrina.
Nice to be here.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show. Now I met David in the community. Now originally you're not from Stockton, right?
No, I'm from San Francisco.
Okay.
But I lived in Stockton in 1969 all the way to 1980.
Okay.
And then I went back to San Francisco.
Okay. And then what brought you from the Bay Area to Stockton?
Well, I was invited at first by my brother, right, because the rent in San Francisco was so high, right?
Yeah.
And that I figured that I could be an asset to Stockton, right, because I was recently released and I wanted to give back to a community.
Right.
Right, and I seen that Stockton definitely needed work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to contribute.
Yeah. And then that's how you met your wife?
Yes, I met her at I believe at UOP.
Okay.
Right.
Because you were doing you were a guest speaker, right?
Right.
So talking to the students about your time in
being
prison?
incarcerated.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I was over there with other lifers.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we were all sharing and giving back, and that's where I met Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah. So now you're here and you're giving back. So, one of the first questions we kind of ask the guests is, what's an entrepreneur to you? Like when you think about that, or when you kind of, when that crosses your mind, what do you think an entrepreneur is, or what do they do, and how do you think it impacts the community?
Well, for me, an entrepreneur is someone that wants to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Right, in achieving whatever goal they have, right?
Yeah.
Like, say, for instance, I want to open up an agency that's going to be in reaching out to the community,
right?
So I would have to have a plan,
mm-hmm.
right, and be successful on that, and have people on board as well,
mm-hmm.
right? Bring new ideas,
right.
and have a strong passion,
mm-hmm.
and be dedicated. That's what it means to me.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And then. So, since you've come back to Stockton, because are you recently out? Like, how long have you been out?
I've been out 2 years
2
now,
years?
and I've been incarcerated 28.
28.
Right.
And so you were in the New York Times, right?
I was.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how that came about. Were you in Stockton at the time talking, or how did the New York Times reach out to you for that story?
Okay. I got a phone call by Andrew Lucero,
mm-hmm.
right? And he works for, he used to work for Fathers of Family, but now he works for Friends Outside.
Mm-hmm. And he's local?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a phone call to me and asked me, hey, there's this guy that wants to do a piece on lifers.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him your name because you have an interesting story.
Right.
Right. And I guess his name was Joseph Rodriguez,
mm-hmm.
right, from New York Times. So we met. And we sat across the table, and I was able to share my life with him,
mm-hmm.
right? Who I was then, who I am now, what my dreams are, what
mm-hmm.
I want to do to be successful, right? And I took them to different parts of the area of Stockton where I grew up, and I shared the things I was involved in as far as, but I also was amateur boxer in Stockton.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
I did that for a little while, right? And I also worked in the fields, so I've seen both sides of Stockton, the good and the bad.
Right. Yeah.
So now I want to give back to the community. I want to share my story with other people that's headed in that wrong direction, especially the youth. You know what I mean? Because they've been misguided, they've been misled, and they're troubled in their ways, So
right.
The education part of it is interesting, you know what I mean? Because I'm able to share my other side, what took place in prison. It's
right.
not glamorized as you see on TV or you hear about it on rap music.
Right, yeah.
And we don't like to use the word like challenged or troubled youth. We like to use the word promising youth.
Yeah.
I mean, David, we believe in these kids. I mean, some
Exactly.
people have their stories, but when they reach a certain age, sometimes it's too late. But we try to get the ones that are young
Right.
and fresh and, love them, just understand them. But, David, we connected because we both had a vision, and a passion to work with, in our communities.
Right. Tell me about the experience at UOP. Like, what was that for you to come to the university and talk to those kids? Were you nervous when you were, coming, when they asked you to do that?
I was, because one of the greatest fears of all is public speaking, right? And you don't want to make no mistakes.
Right.
Right?
And you want to be a good speaker if you're an entrepreneur, too, right?
Yeah, especially if you have a message to deliver, But it was easy for me once they made it comfortable, right? And it comes with confidence.
Yeah.
Right? You have to know what you're talking about, right? Especially when you start seeing heads turn left and right. Right? But I was able to capture them, I got to know them, right? I shared my experience, why I went to prison, why I went from point A to point B to take another human being's life, right? And then I was able to share the aspects of responsibility, right? And that I also still have a twin sister in prison doing time. She's doing 30. She's on her 31 year right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, basically she is comfortable in her state, and it's sad for me because me and my crime, basically I orchestrated everything.
Right.
And she was a victim. Right? She, if I'm allowed to speak on what took place with her, why I caught that life sentence was because she was sexually assaulted and she was beat by a pimp.
Right.
And that pimp's name was Vance Outlaw. Right. Really, now today, I like to address him by his name because he was a human being. And
Right.
that human being had rights.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I respect him, because I honor him and I share my story because, who was I to take his life? He could have been, a lawyer, a doctor, I gave his family a life sentence. He's no longer in their life. You know what I mean? When Christmas and Thanksgiving comes up, I'm not saying that what he did is right, but what I did was wrong because I had choices.
Yeah.
But because of the lifestyle I was living, right, I decided to, pick up that knife, and use it in a negative way.
Right. Yeah. And then that completely changed your outlook because, I've talked to you and, you've documented like everything. He really has like a whole backstory of everything that he's, gone through, and you had obviously a lot of time to do that. And you talked about this pamphlet that you put together.
Yeah.
When you were, in there, and then just kind of tell me how that kind of came about, like when you're starting to make changes and set goals, right?
Yeah. Well, it came about when I was getting a lot of praise, man, right, over the years, by cops, by staff members, by convicts, peers of my own, right, saying that, hey, what you did was a good thing. Man, if I had a sister like you, man, I would have did the same thing. But I would go back to my cell, and I was like, wait a minute, something about that ain't right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I'm getting glorified for taking another human being's life, right? Because he beat her. No. Everything has a stem to it. And I began, well, if I didn't sell drugs and I was living a productive life, none of this would have took place.
Right.
That's right.
You see, so I invited her to that lifestyle.
Right.
Because because she got envious, right, of what I was doing. She wasn't a part of it. So I included her. I should have told her, no, get a job, right, work.
Right.
Right. But it, everything had a domino effect, and I started going all back and writing everything down, right, because I know that here, this is the first step of ownership, right, taking responsibility.
Right.
I'm not placing blame. I'm not living in denial, right. And, you know, it all started there, but, you know, I had choices, you know, and I could have called the cops, right? I could have embraced her, and I could have took her to a medical center, but no, I didn't. I picked up that knife, and because of my ego, right, I had to listen to that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to look like no punk in somebody else's eyes, right? But I tell people in prison, no, man, no, you don't see the effect and the cause that I did. You know, because I caused fear in the community, right? I gave my sister a life sentence, right?
That was a ripple effect, yeah.
Ripple effect, man. I got my family standing hours in the line to come and see me, man, for decades. Not a year or two, for decades, man, right?
Yeah.
They have to take time out of their day, you know. And no, what I did wasn't right, man, you know. And I have to live by that. So now I have to correct that. And how can I correct that? By educating other people, right? I had to understand responsibility. You have to understand ego, pattern recognition, triggers, coping skills. I have to come out here, right? Because I tried so hard in the beginning to give my life, give myself a life sentence. Now I have to do everything, you know, to protect myself from going back to prison.
Right.
You know what I mean? I couldn't take things personal, right? I have to have substitute. I have to have choices now, and I have to think wisely.
Yeah.
And I share all this information with the youth to make themselves see themselves through my story, and let them go back that night and just reflect on it, man. Just think about it.
Yeah.
You know? I've told the story so many times. I have different angles. You know what I mean? But that's where education begins.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, and then when did you were compiling this kind of pamphlet that you take with you, and you cover a lot of things, and we had kind of talked a little bit about it too, because I feel like that was your vision and your dream to do it, and very much in that entrepreneur spirit that, you know, I think that those men and women that are in there too have that at some point. They have that vision. That's the goal, is to get out.
That's right. And
then it's, you know, what do I do from there? And sometimes there's resources for you guys to find different things and avenues to get work. But what if there's somebody in there that had an idea? They were sitting on it. Maybe they were writing it out. Maybe you knew somebody in there that created something, and you created this pamphlet.
That's right,
really.
because I was having an intellectual conversation, just like with another person, just like with you, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about life. We were talking about science. We were talking about religion. We were talking about politics. Then I said, you know what? Why can't I have some things I want to share with you? I wrote down over decades, right?
Yeah.
I want to put together a self-help thing, right, that protects people from coming back to prison. But I also want to make something to where, you know, people can fight it in board, right? And not come back with the denial, right? And one of the key things was honesty, and acceptance. Right? And that's part of responsibility. People don't want to, and I've learned this in prison, people don't want to take responsibility. Man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're always like, well, it wasn't my fault. I mean, it was her fault. I heard a lot, you know, over the decade. But, you know, it's just owning up to it, man. Just giving in, surrendering, listening and obeying, right? We get trapped up. We've been traveling west, like, for forever, and we have to do that turnaround, man. And it's hard. It's hard. People say it's hard to do good, man, to be on the right track, or maybe it's easy not to. Right. Because this is what we're comfortable with. This is our oasis. A place of refuge, man.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what's amazing though about his portfolio? When I first seen it, still am, early childhood educator.
Mm-hmm.
So we do portfolios for our children,
Yeah.
their growth,
Mhm.
and then we have teacher portfolios. And when I seen his portfolio, it was this thick and very professional. I
Yeah,
was like, hey.
it really was. I mean,
Man, I was amazed. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what, I started getting sparkles in my eyes. But
yeah,
all this information.
yeah, oh
all
yeah.
this information. I said, it was done in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really amazing. Really, really, I was like, where did you learn this at? And that was from asking questions. I mean, we hear prison life is negative, but David looked for the positive part. I want to do something when I
Right.
get out.
Now here I'm already in the worst situation doing life, right?
Mhm.
How can I turn it around, make it a positive thing, man?
Yeah.
Because I'm surrounded with negativity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's a mood killer.
It is,
For
and,
real.
and yeah, that's one thing too. I was really impressed when I met you for the first time. You had this binder, and I feel like it was this. You had it together. I mean, it was like the table of content. It was like it was like a book, right?
That's right.
Like
Yeah,
you
it's
wrote your own
amazing.
book,
Right.
and it was a page turner. And I
right.
didn't get to go through it all, but I mean, what I read in the first few pages was just really, I mean, I felt really bad, man. I felt for you, like living in that situation with you and your sister, and then how that escalated so quickly into that. But it was really just being a product of that environment.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it turned you into that, and then those choices, like we said, just kind of rippled on. But now you have you're free at last.
That's right.
As is what we
That's right.
what
We
we
say
kind of
that all
talk
the
about.
time.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. And
Free at last.
so now when you're coming out, and maybe you've talked to different people or different youth that are incarcerated, things like that, about what they're working on or what their plans are.
Yeah.
In that is, I feel that's a good starting point for what you've created for yourself, and then you share it with others. Is being a good speaker, but not just that, right? Like being the part.
That's
like
right.
you dress up, and
Right.
it's a kind of a professional etiquette thing. And we've been talking about this, over I think the length of the past week, is that applies all over, right? It doesn't matter if you have a 9 to 5 or you're a student or whatever. I mean,
Right.
even an entrepreneur, like that business etiquette, that professionalism
Yes.
still carries over
Yeah.
to what you're creating and what you're doing and where you're going to go.
Yeah, I believe that presentation is everything.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So because all eyes on you, as Tupac said, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it's your conduct,
Mhm.
you always, and your character.
Mhm.
You always
Yeah.
have to keep in line, man, because
Right.
people are going to talk about you. People are always watching you
Mhm.
up close or from a distance. You
Right.
know what I mean? So we do it as a protection. You know what I mean? To keep ourselves in line.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're, back in Stockton and getting familiar with the community, is there, what's the next plan for David Ng? Like, where do you go from this now that you feel like you want to continue to be involved with UOP or Delta College and talk with students about, share your story more? I feel like only a portion or maybe a fraction of Stockton might have heard your story.
Yeah, it's sometimes I get lost because there was so much that I need to know, right, as far as getting things started, because sometimes I have an idea, right, and I'll keep that idea, but I won't attack it like I should.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know where to go
Mhm.
because of the lack of education of it, right?
Right.
But I've also I like to have an agency, right,
Mhm.
that gives back to Stockton as
Right.
a resource.
Their needs.
Right, their
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah,
But
their
because
needs.
Stockton has a deep need.
Mhm.
You know, we see poverty everywhere. you know.
Right. Yeah.
But there's an agency, it's called United Players out of San Francisco,
Mhm.
right? My
They're
friend
awesome.
Rudy is running that program over
Okay.
there. And I've sat and worked with Rudy,
Mhm.
right? And he's a good man. One,
Yeah.
because he's a man of God,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And he has the staff members that are lifers, and I've done time with them, and they contribute their time with Rudy.
Mhm.
So I talked to Rudy. I was like, how can we take your agency and bring it to Stockton? Because your
Right.
agency in San Francisco is successful.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can we do this? And he was like, you know what, man, Dave, I I have love for you, man, and one of the things I do have for you is trust.
Yeah.
And I know you'll take some of this and do something good with it.
Right.
So I'm trying to get things started over here in Stockton with that, you know. All I need is an office, a place, and then probably grants and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
To help me going.
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
And I need smart people like you, man.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? To help me.
Well,
and
if anyone has watched previous episodes, really kind of what David's speaking to is exactly what other entrepreneurs have said. You know, it's, you know, they've had that idea, and then it's, you know,
Just marinating.
It's just sitting there, and then they act on it, right?
Yeah,
and then they have the passion for it, and they chase after it, and then all the other things start coming into place, right? They start learning from other people. They start getting people that they feel, you know, they can trust on the team, and you know, people that share the same vision.
Yes,
you know, that's always important.
Exactly.
And then of course finding a place.
That's right.
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 Working from home, or working out of a coffee shop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but you know, still, you know, you're still working, even though maybe you might not have a physical spot. I mean, I remember when I started with a company a couple of years ago, we were in a little tiny closet, a little smaller than this.
Wow.
You know,
How did you breathe?
I couldn't tell you. Open the door.
Yeah.
And we had desks that were made out of cinder blocks and plywood.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're doing it rough style.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I mean, you do what it takes.
Exactly.
You know,
right.
to
And you
get it
appreciate
done.
it.
Yeah.
And you appreciate it, right? Because it's a start. You know.
Yeah. So then, with everything that you've done and achieved, and now you got to create like a whole new. You know, you've changed your attitude.
Right. And that's what I had to do first, right?
Yeah,
I
that
had
was
to
a
turn
big
my
thing.
perspective, because everything in my life was so negative, man. My outlook on things, man, and it was everybody's fault, and the world owed me. That was my attitude, right? And I had no empathy. That's the thing.
Oh.
Right. That's what made it so hard for me to be loving, because I didn't care about the next human being, man. I was so selfish, and most human beings they're just selfish, right? But you know, I have love for other people now, and it's about giving back, man.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And then
you feel good at the end of the day
Mm-hmm.
when you lay down and you say, "Hey," you put it on a scale. Did I do anything successful today, man? Did I help somebody out? You know.
Yeah.
Or you get those kids that, you know, they hear.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's okay. You do follow up. Bring something more interesting to it.
You know, and there were when I was in school here, you know, I know we had speakers like you that came in, and I was in that position where I was like, really?
Yeah.
You know, here we go and stuff. But there was never that. We didn't have that follow up.
That's
really,
right.
we didn't have that conversation after.
Right.
You know, and it was just kind of moved on, and that was it. So how do kids react to you when you do some of these things?
Okay, because I put myself in their shoes, man, and I here comes this dude, who knew in there? You know what I mean? Look at this clown, right? Because I heard your story, right? You don't know my story. Do you even care about my story?
Exactly.
So this is my important thing. When I give my speeches to kids, I want to know, where you from, man? Who's your friends?
Yeah.
How many brothers you have? What are you involved in? Right? That knowledge is that connection, that nexus.
Yeah.
Right? Man, this dude has an interest in me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what he, you know, he's when I was working with him, he's such a good listener.
Yes.
You know, and then like vice versa, you always say I'm such a good listener, but and then you know as we were sharing our life stories with each other, that's really what it was all about. It was just sitting down and getting to know. You know,
he's analyzing the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's not about me all the time, man. It's more about you. You know, because you have a story that's gonna move me, man.
Right.
And I'm gonna take that story and I'm gonna share it with somebody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's, you know, people get so glorified in their own self. Man, really? Did you even get to know the guy's name who you was talking to?
Right.
Right. Can you tell me something about him? Well, he had glasses on. I mean, yeah, but tell me his, you know.
Right. It's kind of like when you go to a movie and like you get out and you're with a group of friends. Yeah. That was a good movie. What'd you like about it? it was cool.
Yeah, the popcorn was great.
Yeah, you
right?
know, like,
yeah.
but there's no substance to that
Right,
conversation,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like, you know, what did you like the story? Did you
Yeah.
care about the characters?
Yeah,
Or what?
let me hear your ideas,
Right,
man.
yeah,
Right?
and it's kind of in the similar vein, right? Like when you
Exactly.
go work for a company, does that company care about you? Do those
Yeah.
those people actually care about you, right?
And what intriguing about one of our conversations is when you shared how you went on an interview, right?
Mhm.
And I take that because what you did was maybe you want to share it.
Mhm.
You know how you did some research about the company
Mhm.
when you had the interview. So when they were asking, you know, well, what do you think? You
Mhm.
know, oh yeah, I like it when you did it over here or this
Mhm.
year or you know what I mean?
Right.
You had some information
Mhm.
that they said, well, man, this dude really cares. He has a
Yeah.
passion
That's
for our
right.
company because he did some investigation.
Right, and that's you know, that's I do the mock interviews at UOP, and they do them every year, and that's one of the things that I try and give back to the students and say, you know, I've been on both sides, and
Yeah.
you know, if you want to work for that company, you gotta look into it.
That's
you know,
right.
you gotta take a
Yeah.
look and see, like, what have they done? What do you like about that company that's gonna make you go work there? You know, do they? And it's always okay to ask those questions in an
Yeah.
interview.
Right.
It's they're filling you out, but you're filling them out at the same time.
Right.
And you know, I've talked to a few students, and you know, one was a graphic designer, and I says, you know, show me your work. That's the most important thing, you know, is in anything. If I'm a writer, I'm going to have at least some sample work for you to see, so you can see what my style is, or who I've done, or if it's current.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I haven't been writing in a couple of years. It's not the case, but
Right.
you know, and so those things, I always like doing that. I always feel that I never got that, but now that I am where I am
Your
with
position.
you know, in my position in my career, it's like, God, those kids need to know that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
That's
I was
right.
afraid to do that. I was afraid to
Right.
ask questions, or I
Yeah.
didn't do the due diligence that
Right.
I should now, and now everything's changed. You know.
And I think that's what's one of the things that made me successful in prison is because I didn't get involved in politics, man.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And there was certain violence going on in there, and I had to ask those questions.
Mhm.
You know, why did he get stabbed so many times or thrown off the tier?
Mhm.
Oh, it was because he didn't pay a drug debt or he was messing around with homosexuals.
Mhm.
And then I would say to myself, okay, them are the things I'm not gonna get involved in.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have to ask them important questions, man.
Mhm.
You know, but I always had people looking out for me too as well, and I'm
Mhm.
grateful here today.
Yeah.
You know, because then people, like for instance, some of the NF people or some of the people that were involved,
Organizations.
right, organizations in
Mhm.
prison, they looked out for me and they told me, no, don't be like us, man.
Mhm.
Go into boxing, man. Stay away from all the politics, man. Do right. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Follow the laws, man.
Mhm.
You know, you're gonna. Of course, I had my funk in there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you know, and that was a survival thing. You
Mhm.
know, but you know, I'm glad that it's information, important information, man. That
Mhm.
makes us successful.
Always asking questions,
That's
always,
right.
and it's the same
Right.
thing as entrepreneurs, right? They're
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
always learning,
the
and they're
what,
always
who,
asking.
when, and how. Yeah.
And having brainstorms. That's
Mhm.
me.
Yeah,
I
brainstorming,
mean him
right?
all the
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
Collaborating,
Mhm.
right? Collaborating
Yeah.
with the right people, though.
With the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because somebody might have some, you know, they might have the right intention, but you know, you don't know what their interior motive
You don't
is.
know
you
their
what I
heart.
mean?
Right. Yeah, because you know, you could run into somebody who says they're for the community, but they really
Yeah.
they
really
have a
not.
different
Yeah,
agenda
yeah,
altogether,
they're
right?
for themselves, man.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They're greedy.
And you're gonna know, I think, if you spend enough time with people and
Yeah,
you go
it's
out
bad,
there
right?
and you go to these events and network,
Yeah.
you're gonna know who's really
Yeah.
involved in the community.
Yeah, you know, you don't have to ask questions about that certain individual, right?
Mhm.
He's going to be exposed just by his, you know, his whatever he's going through. You
Right.
know, you'll know him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some things too, Ben. We David always talked about. You know, walk the talk.
Mhm.
We you know like
Mhm.
what we always talk. We want to work with youth. We gotta walk a straight line.
Mhm.
Can't be wanting services. And your philosophy, your mission's not
Right.
with who you are.
Mhm. Yeah, it doesn't
you know?
doesn't mesh.
And you want success stories. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't save every child, every family, but you know what?
Yeah.
They're gonna remember you because
Mhm.
you know, let me tell you, I started working with youth at 17 years old in after-school programs,
Mhm.
and now that I'm 47,
Mhm.
they remember you.
That's right. She was really successful
you.
in giving back to the community
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
well.
On my own,
especially
though.
with the educational part. She was
Yeah.
a teacher.
Well,
you know?
preschool, early
Mhm.
childhood, it's totally different. But
Yeah.
like I said, I was a teenager. I made connections, and I really cared. The kids know you're there for them, and they'll come look for you.
You can tell she has a strong passion because I never stop hearing about it. You know what I mean?
I
wait,
do.
but hold
I
on,
love.
man.
I
You
love
have a
it.
9-to-5 job, sweetheart, right? But she takes it, and I'm considerate, right? I listen to her stories all night long, right? And
But this
I learn
kid, that
from
kid,
them
yeah.
about this child or that child, or I ran into this parent, you know. But I'm learning. I'm constantly learning. You know.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that you want to start something like that for the kids or students? You know, something along that, like an agency like that.
You know
or
what?
nonprofit?
I've always given my time to programs like that. I mean, I worked for an agency for years, nonprofit, but I do go out in the community. If I know somebody, personal friends that I meet, I'll help with their startup programs. I love it. I want to see people that are that have those visions to do like social services to come up, and Stockton needs a lot of resources, you know. So I do some stuff outside of my job, you know. I have a friend, she's an entrepreneur, and you know, she even made me cards, you know. I have them still, and they say outreach specialist.
Yeah, definitely the cards are
fake it
key,
till you
and
make it.
and all those different things. Yeah, I mean, you have to do those things. You can continue, you know, to keep doing those.
It's about being involved, right?
Yeah.
What can I do for you, right? How can you use me, right, for something positive that you want to get accomplished?
Right, exactly.
Right,
yeah, and that's another thing too, is you're giving value, and then, of course that's what entrepreneurs create. Like they create a service or something that gives value that solves a problem here.
And sometimes people, you'll know if they have that strong passion, if it's for real, because they'll use you, right? But you know, if they don't care about you, you'll know.
They don't value you, then you know.
Value,
and that's the thing I tell students too, is like you know, you got to treat that just like even if you were treating it in a relationship. You know, there's value. The person has to value you, just like that company or that place should value your skill.
That's right.
And if they're not, you know, time's valuable. You can't be wasting your time there.
That's right. You got to move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. I experienced that a lot in my life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, you just keep pushing.
Yeah, can't give up.
No, and that's the thing too, is entrepreneurs don't give up.
That's right.
Another idea.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. You know, back to the drawing board.
Exactly. And we talked about that too, right? You know, about the failure and stuff. Do you ever feel like when you were putting a lot of that together, did you ever wanna like, I can't do this, or this is not gonna work out? Did you ever experience failure when you were doing a lot of that?
No, because I truly believed. You know,
and you just kept pushing through, even though you had roadblocks.
That's right. At certain times I did have roadblocks, right? But you know, I was confident to put it to the test, right? And we did mock board hearings, right? And ask me anything about my life. I'm an open book to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. It comes with truth. And so when we have these mock hearings and stuff like that, this is where the confidence came in. I killed it. And that's why when I went to board, I left no room for doubt for the DA. And the DA said, who was fighting against, he wanted me to stay the rest of my life in prison. But he told my lawyer that after I had this hearing with him, right, go back and tell Mr. Ring, I know that when he's out, he'll never go back to prison, from what I heard today.
Yeah.
You know, and that's true, man. You know, and that's part of being successful. You know, we just have to, you know, one of the things, when I first went to prison 3 times, but, you know, I discharged my number because like we talked earlier, where did I go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go back, you know, this time when I was laying in prison. I was, wait a minute, hold on, I discharged my number, I was successful. Where did I go wrong? Because I had that short-term plan.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a long life plan, right? And I forgot about that, you know, and that's what brought me back to prison. And that's why I went back to selling drugs, you know what I mean? And went back to the streets. But I know better now. And I share that with other people because this could be you. This could happen to you, man, in the blink of an eye, right?
The choices you make.
Yeah. You know, and I know what's going on in you.
And you know, too, people don't understand. Some kids, even as adults, you can hear them say, when I was a kid, no one told me. Nobody was there for me. And that's the whole point where we're trying to work with youth and other organizations that are trying to do startups.
Right.
With the parents, too, parenting. You know, parenting, how to be a parent. People just think it's having a kid, you're a parent. No,
Yeah.
there's no. Even literacy, you know, like me, I went through a literacy program, and I could teach parents how to read, even if they don't know how to read, how to entertain a child with a book. There's all kinds of things that you can do to give back and to start, you know, your entrepreneurism, you know, in a program.
Solutions.
Yeah.
It's always looking for solutions, man.
That's
Put it
right.
on the
You know what I
table.
mean?
What do we need?
Yeah, that's right.
What these families need.
Yeah, and there's so many people I think now that want to do something, that want to start something, whether it's a nonprofit or just they want to put their stuff out there. You know, like my friend's got a coffee shop.
Yeah,
you know that they roasted out of their garage for so many years, and then it's like they finally have a little place.
Right.
Wow.
You know, downtown. So yeah, it's just persevering through all those things, and but sharing that too with the students and all that, and saying, hey man, you know, don't give up on it if that's something you want to do, because some students you may run into those students where they don't want to go work. You know, maybe they have something, maybe they've been working on something, or even the older people who have worked already and they're retired.
That's right.
And
I want to follow this dream now.
I was like, I've been sitting on this idea for a while.
Invent a job, invent it. You know,
I want to build this old airplane made out of twigs or something. I don't know, right?
Yeah. Well, my uncle, I used to tell David, my uncle used to say that all the time. Invent a job.
Yeah.
Go find what you like and do it. You might not get paid, but if it makes you feel good, keeps you out of trouble.
And you know, when I was in prison, I used to always watch TV, and one of the things I used to always watch was, well, I forget the name of the show, but they would come with ideas. This is what I invented, right? And you have a three-man panel. I think one woman named Barbara. And the owner,
like you know the details, but not the show.
Yeah, but I forgot the name of the show.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. They're trying to sell the product.
They're trying to sell the product. One's the owner. One of the people, he's the owner of a basketball team.
Oh, Shark Tank.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Mark Cuban, right?
Right, Mark Cuban, right? Yeah. You know, and I sit there and fantasize, man, I could do something. You know, this is motivating. I like this. You know, but what can I bring? You know, that's gonna make me a millionaire, right? Because you have to shoot for the moon. And if you miss, you'll be amongst the stars. At least, you know.
Well, then you go back to it again.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wind up the show here, but how if people want to get a hold of you, how do people stay in touch with you? How do we get in touch with David Ng?
Well, you know, you can go through you, of course.
Okay, yeah. You can email us at hellochallengemode@gmail.com. You can do that,
or I'll give you my number. But I think that's.
But you have a Gmail, right?
I do. It's David Ng freeatlast@gmail.com. Right.
Yeah, if people are interested in having David maybe come in as a guest speaker, you know, and talk to the youth or talk to, you know. Any other nonprofit.
Exactly. It's not also for the youth. It's for anybody that can use this information.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then are you thinking? Because I know we kind of talked a little bit, and there was like a lot of things that you don't know because you've been gone for such a long time that you don't know what an Xbox is. I was showing him what Instagram is, so I think it'd be really cool. We started an Instagram for you.
We did, right? It was only for 30 seconds.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, going forward for you, I think, you know, branding yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and then putting in the work to do Instagram and then just going out there and
I'm on YouTube, that's for sure.
You are on YouTube.
Many times, many interviews.
Right. Yeah. So real quick, let's plug. What's that? You were on the show in San Francisco.
Yes, from a friend that I've also did time with. Right. He has his own little radio station.
Right.
He's successful.
Okay.
Right. He has a Porsche and all this stuff. So he invited me to come and speak.
So what's his name and what's the name of that show?
Oh my goodness. His name's James. His name's James, right? The name of the radio show. I don't know.
It's abbreviations.
Yeah, it's abbreviations.
Okay.
I can't remember. I just know it's the window.
But I've seen it on YouTube.
Right.
I've seen you on YouTube, and he's got, you know, the whole studio set up, and it was real professional and really that was a really good interview.
She was
Yeah,
invited
I was
on the
in there
interview too as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see
We
you
did a
again,
follow-up.
right?
For sure you will.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and then don't forget you were in the New York. What do you remember? What day that was? I'll post
no.
it in
Yeah.
case people haven't seen it. But he was in the New York Times like about probably a month ago.
April.
Yeah.
April.
Yeah, in April.
For sure.
Yeah, that was in about in April. But I'll post the link too in case you can want to learn a little bit more about you and what's going on in California and the incarcerated system and all that. And then name that one gentleman that
Jesse Dela Cruz.
Now he was in for how long? Do you remember how long he was in?
He was
for?
in and out for years.
Yeah, I'm
but
not
he
sure.
but he
did a
finally came
stretch.
out,
That's
and
right.
and he's a
successful.
lawyer.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah,
Right.
he wanted to help. You know, more incarcerated
he's
people.
From,
and
he's here in Stockton
and yeah, he's
too.
here in
He's
Stockton
local.
too.
Yeah, a local. That's
Entrepreneur
right.
also.
There he is. There
Special
you
man. Good
Landscape-
friend,
landscaping.
too. Good friend, yeah.
Hope he's looking.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, I'll post up the link for everyone for the New York Times post, so you can see that with David. Thanks for being on the show, man.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate.
Thank you for having me,
Yeah, I
man.
appreciate
You know?
you coming on and chatting with us. Hopefully, you'll come back. Thanks everyone for listening. My name's Ben Sanchez. David Ing.
Yes.
And his
Sabrina
lovely
Perez.
wife, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Thank you for all being on the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.